It is a beautiful sunny day at camp in the North Georgia mountains, and today we are thinking about survival and emergency preparedness, as so many people are right now in the United States and many other places around the world. But we are thinking about it specifically from a camping and outdoor recreation perspective. Of course, that's what we talk about here on this channel. And I think that it can be helpful to think about things in creative ways we can be more attentive and intentional about the skills that we are building in outdoor recreation and how we can use those in the everyday world. We're wondering, how does that look in times of calamity, in times of destruction, when things are like we've never known them to be? How can they be of use? How can we find solutions with what we already have? How can we help in community? We're thinking about some of these things in our conversation at camp today. Okay, make sure you look good. Okay, cool.
I ain't got no crusty nose on me.
Welcome to our campsite. Hopefully you've enjoyed the view so far. But what we are here for today is to talk about whether we think recreational camping, like we're doing here today, can be useful for survival skills, for preparedness beyond recreation. This came from conversations that Darrell and I had. We realized that we disagreed, or not even, I don't even know if it's a full disagreement, but it's just that we felt differently about what this can do for our lives outside of enjoyment and leisure, and how these skills can translate to other places. So that's what we're here to talk about today.
Yes.
I'm Yves.
I'm Darrell.
I have, I guess, just very briefly background on recreational camping. I don't know, we've been doing it since, I don't know, maybe our first backpacking trip was in 2019. We had been hiking before that. And so we dibbled and dabbled. I don't know if dibbled is a word. Experimented with other outdoorsy things before then. But our camping journey probably majorly started in 2019. Would you say that's the case?
I thought it was 2018, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just old.
Well, our January 2019 was our backpacking trip to the Everglades. But you might be thinking of the long gathering resources process before.
Yeah, maybe so.
Also, I got my wilderness first responder certification through Knowles last July. So I've also started some training, some formalized training in survival, rescue, wilderness, preparedness in that realm. And I plan to continue that training and to uplift that training through its use in various capacities. And Darrell is?
I'm an outdoor enthusiast, I guess you would say. And I don't have the fancy new certifications like you do.
It's okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I enjoy the outdoors and think that outdoor skills are certainly useful for these trying times and all times.
I might do another video about this, the reasons that I did that wilderness first responder training. And if you're interested in knowing about how that went and my reasons for doing it, then just let me know in the comments below. But I would say Darrell was way more into preparedness and survival skills and bushcraft and things in that realm before I was. And you already, were into knives.
Yeah.
And axes, blades of various makeups.
Yeah.
I wasn't into those things before, and I'm still not like Darrell is from a collection and education.
I have a natural inclination to outdoor camping and bushcraft and security, stuff like that. So.
Yeah, safety, I would say. Safety in the outdoors.
Yeah. We
think a lot about survival in the outdoor perspective and preparedness from an outdoor perspective, but then we also we don't do this because we want to learn to survive. I'll speak for myself. My main reason of camping is because I really enjoy it. I'm sure there's another video where I talk more about my reasons for loving camping. So if so, I'll link that one in the description. But this is recreational for me. I actually enjoy camping. I enjoy hiking. I like being in the outdoors. I like spending nights outside. It's also hard to ignore how much value there is in learning things like building fires and how to use knives and how to just like be comfortable with being outside and spending the night outside, using the bathroom outside, navigating to campsites, carrying loadouts on our back when we're backpacking. There are practical benefits to that. I was just wondering how much of that translates recreationally. How much am I preparing myself emotionally, mentally, and physically for survival in an emergency situation, in a devastating, catastrophic situations, apocalyptic situations even. How much am I preparing myself for that when I'm recreationally camping? And I think I am. And you think, what do you think?
I think that you probably are. I think that most people with a tent that they use every 6 months probably are not. I think you're more equipped, especially with you just got a certification, as you said. Like you have even more specialized knowledge than the average person, right? So that combined with your experiences with me, that puts you at a great advantage. I don't think that most people are like that, though. I would argue that they're not.
So you would say, generally, like from a broad perspective, your opinion is that recreational camping does not help prepare you for outdoor survival skills.
Well, I'm not going to say it doesn't help.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it doesn't help. I would say that you're not fully equipped for that situation, though. I think it does help to a degree, sure. I mean, sure, you have just knowing how to build a simple fire is of help. I mean,
So you use the word fully. I want to dig into that word fully because I don't think I'm fully prepared. I mean, there are plenty of people who are far more capable than I am and have so much more to learn about surviving, living in the outdoors, camping, all of it. I think piece by piece, I'm learning different elements to be able to do that. But I don't think this fully prepares me. I still have I have to learn how to build fires in different environments and climates. You know, I've never backpacked in deep snow before. You know, there are certain ways of existing in the outdoors that I don't think I'm fully prepared.
well, I don't know. I'm not going to say fully. I mean, I don't even know how we would quantify fully. But I mean, I guess significantly more prepared than the average person with just a tent from Walmart and a Coleman grill. I mean, you can't be 100% prepared for any catastrophic scenario, as you put it. So, but you know, if there's a scale from 1 to 10, you're definitely towards the higher end of that scale than the average person. I would argue.
Okay. We've touched on in previous videos how I believe, and I think we're on the same page. You can tell me if not. People should learn to camp now and yesterday. Like they should have been learned to camp because I think it's a useful tool, a useful skill to have in your arsenal. Because should you lose your home, you know, should it be difficult for you to find another place to live? Should there be some sort of environmental disaster? It gives you more peace of mind to know that. And then of course it gives you more peace of mind for yourself if something like that happens to you. But if you're in community where, God forbid, there be a necessity for people to know how to set up tents, to know how to start fires, to know how to cook food outdoors, then we can contribute to community in that way because we have that skill. But one thing that I think I want to lead with is the mental and emotional aspect, because I think that's one that can be overlooked because we value quote unquote hard skills so much more than soft skills so much. Fear is obviously a thing that comes up when you're outside, especially if you're not used to it, if you didn't grow up in an outdoorsy way. Learning how to sleep in the dark, getting used to different noises, waking up in the middle of the night, attuning your brain and your consciousness, your awareness to how it feels to sleep outside rather than the comfort of a more constructed shelter, more robustly constructed shelter, because it's a constructed shelter too. It's like how when you get a gun, you learn to shoot. You have to continue doing it so when the time actually comes, then you're more capable of using that gun. If you're scared, that's going to change the way you react. That's going to change your reaction times. You might be trembling. Your heart's going to be beating faster. Your breath will be quicker in pace. All these things. You're preparing for performance. So I think of this in a way as getting reps in, right? Because if I'm used to doing it in a recreational way, then I've already kind of moved past that. If it's a spectrum of preparedness, it's like the first hump of like, I couldn't even do this afraid when things are beautiful. The sun's out shining, the mountain view is great, the terrain is dry, it's not muddy. When everything's nice and quiet and peaceful and I'm still afraid to sleep in the tent at night, then I've gotten over that hump. Cool. Now, when things are a little bit more abrasive, when they are a little bit more urgent, when things are a little bit more on the precipice, chaotic, whatever, then I'm a little bit closer to being able to handle that. Now I haven't set up a tent in that scenario before. I haven't slept in that scenario before, but now at least I know I can do it in a peaceful environment. Now I feel like I'm a little bit closer to doing it in a non-peaceful environment.
Okay, sure. A little bit closer doesn't mean that that'll be adequate, though, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think people shouldn't do it. People obviously should, and that way they have at least some knowledge of how to set things up and, you know, what you should do. But ultimately, until you're there, you know, you don't really know. And if you already have just a low level amount of, let's call it training, then you can probably expect a low outcome.
Yeah. Can you elaborate on that? Like, give me a practical example.
If you only, you know, do picnics, or if you only camp in your backyard, having to camp in the mountains when it's cold, and you didn't bring adequate clothing or enough blankets, then you are going to have a worse time, and you're going to not enjoy it, and or you might even get sick from it. I mean, depending on where you're at, you could get hypothermia, you could get, you know, really, really physically damaged or injured, depending on, you know, how cold is the environment. Is it going to be raining and hailing that day? If you're not informed and equipped with the right gear and the correct information, you may be subject to the whims of nature, as you are at any given time, but even more so. But if you have a high level of training, you'll know by default to bring extra blankets or extra this or extra that, because you'll say, well, it's supposed to be good weather today, but from my experience, I know better, and I'm going to bring, you know, the extra rain jacket or the extra blanket anyway. So
Always an extra pair of socks.
yes, an extra pair of socks.
That makes me think of, I don't know what the technical term is, but beginner's hubris.
Sure.
You've done this thing before, so you think you have some sort of relative experience about it. So when you get in a situation that might be more unusual, you're like, I've done this before, I can do it here too. So you might move in a way that you're used to in a peaceful situation, but you're not in that situation. You're in an urgent situation,
Right.
or you're in an environment that you don't know, or the environment that you thought you knew has completely changed because there's been some sort of disaster or whatever. I can see what you mean by like, okay, maybe in a way, knowing how to do this could be a disservice if you're an arrogant, if you were having an arrogant personality, or just if you're like, if you don't know how to respond under pressure, if you don't know how to act under pressure, then maybe having these skills and thinking you know what you're doing, it leads to an ego, like the ego isn't working out how it needs to in that moment.
Yeah, it's a false ego.
It's a false ego. Rather than the ego saying, I've done this, rather than the ego being contemplative, the ego is like, I'm up first. And it's like,
Right.
yeah, so I can see what you mean. You would ignore the actual education and the thoughtfulness that you need
Yeah.
in favor of arrogance.
There's a large potential for that, yes.
So tell me more about your viewpoint, because when we first talked about this, you seemed pretty adamant that you're like, no, recreational. So do you think somebody is better off, like, not having any experience camping?
No, I don't.
When it comes to preparedness?
No, I think they're going to be the first ones to be in trouble. Yeah, I don't think it, yeah, no, not at all.
Okay.
The person who has the experience in the outdoors is the person who's more likely to survive in a catastrophic situation, in my mind.
Okay. So let's try to do it like this. If there were a list of, let's think about all the things we do when we're backpacking and when we're camping, the physical, practical things that we do. Which of those things do you think can be helpful in a really, like, in a very defined way? And which of the things do you think are probably not so helpful?
I would say navigation. Knowing where to get to safety and knowing where safe is one of the most important things you can do. Knowing if you're heading towards danger, if you're heading towards a fire or away from the fire, or towards the, whatever social or, catastrophe is happening in the city or whatever environment is extremely important. So learning how to navigate with actual map and having a strong sense of direction are very important.
Yeah. I'm laughing because I do not have a strong natural sense of direction, but I've actually gotten better at that since we started camping and hiking more.
Yeah, you have.
I think I've gotten better at that. And I also know how to read a map. I know how to read contours on a map. I know how to read maps a lot better now because I've gotten actual training from teachers in that too, and just had reps I've put in from doing that. But yeah, I think that can be helpful in just like do you have a map of your area that you're in? Do you know your area well?
I would argue that most people don't. Probably not even an argument. Most people don't even have maps of their local areas these days, like hard copy maps. Not on your phone, not on your device, but like a physical, large, map. I think that's been in significant decline.
This is why I think that translates for me is that the navigation thing is like when I'm in my day-to-day life in the city, regularly navigating around places that I know, that's why I do my best not to use. I don't use navigation in some ways. If I have to get somewhere on time, if time is important and I'm like running late, or if I'm like teaching a yoga class, something like that, then I will put on navigation every time because Atlanta is notorious for traffic if I'm in Atlanta. But that's why I'll be like to you, like, you know how to get there. Like, don't, just do it. Like, turn this off and don't think about that if we don't have to worry about traffic or a tight timeline.
Right.
And so I think that's one thing that you can do in your everyday life. Like, I know I have become so much more reliant, attached even to GPS navigation. But it's nice to just forget about that for a moment and
Return to manual.
return to manual mode. Another thing with navigation is that on top of the practical learning how to read maps and map and compass, if you want to do that, knowing, just filing things in your memory bank too, remembering landmarks. So working with your memory practice, noticing landmarks. Noticing is another big part of it, I think. Just being an observant person in your surroundings. I think that is something that translates through navigation, but other areas as well. It's like knowing that tree was here, or that blaze was here, that ribbon was here, that church was here, is here, and then I know I have to go back in that direction to get there.
Right.
Because you know how they say, when somebody is lost on a trail and really bad things can happen to you when you get lost on a trail, they were like less than a mile from a trail, a main trail area that they could have gotten to and potentially gotten help.
Right.
I don't check me, do check me. don't take my word for the number, a mile. Go check and see. But I know that I've seen stuff about how people can be super close to somewhere where they might have been able to navigate to safety more easily when they are lost. It's easy to be lost close to safety, especially if you're in an area you don't know.
Yeah. I think what they tell kids if they're lost is just to stay in the same place. If you're that person and you have a terrible sense of direction and you need help,
true. Yeah.
You might just want to stay where you're at.
That's a good note to say.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about it Yes, especially if it's like you had no way to call for help, like
Yeah.
you had no
No
satellite,
communications.
no comms.
Yeah.
But then, depending on how desperate of a situation is, you might have to figure out a way to get yourself
Absolutely.
back to safety.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that is a, a good note to be on. So navigation is filed on the side where yes, that can translate to something you learn recreationally. Camping can translate to emergency situations. What else? What else is on the list of things that can or can't be useful?
The things that aren't important are certain things like cooking, like being the best chef won't really matter because you're probably not going to be, you're not going to have access to a bunch of foods. Like you may be eating, simple things that you might have like granola bars, things that are readily available that you can just grab and go. You're not going to be able to bring your cooking supplies and your Coleman stove and your fancy Dometic cooler, and all of this, fun stuff that you normally would bring on your survival in a survival situation. There aren't going to be any marshmallows for the kids and crackers. That's not going to matter. You're going to want water and you're going to want stuff you can basically, eat with one hand, ideally. And certain things like, who's the best DJ? Who's going to be the person who set up the projector? Like all the fun recreational things are not going to be important in these situations. So really having these kind of hard survival skills are more important than these kind of casual camping skills, I would say.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So basically, there's a lot of fluff that happens when you recreationally camp.
Yes.
And because you're not in the mindset for survival, you're in the mindset for like, maybe how comfortable can I be? What kind of cool foods can I make now that I know I have the stove and these cool new pot set that I brought and yada, yada, yada. Then you are not really thinking about it. So you're not really truly set up for that. So even though obviously it'll be great to know how to feed yourself in an emergency situation and survival situations, the average way of recreational camping doesn't necessarily lend itself to that.
Yeah, it
Because
doesn't
you got
lend.
pots, you got pans, you got spatulas, you got kitchen knives. You might have amazing Japanese steel.
Cutlery, yes. Yeah, but that doesn't matter. You just need to survive. You need to feed yourself, have shelter ideally, and stay away from the danger, or whatever that looks like. So I would argue that, yeah, these kind of soft, like casual skills don't adequately prepare you for the quote unquote average disaster situation or natural disasters, average natural disaster situation, let alone, threats of war and things of that nature, which, requires an even greater degree of care. But it's obviously important to be outdoors in general, so you're familiar with your environment. If you never go outside of the city, when something happens, you're kind of behind the ball already because you should already kind of know what route you're taking, what exit you're taking, how to get where, ideally before the bad stuff happens or anything happens. Those things are significant, not, which fancy Big Agnes tent you bought or, what type of grill sauce you like to use at the campfire and, how big are we making the s'mores today or,
What guitar am I going to bring to
yeah,
be able to play
what
at the
guitar you're gonna
campsite?
bring at the campsite? Like, those things aren't really that
They're
significant.
not important when it comes to survival.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. There can be a lot of plushness and luxury,
Yes.
a lot of catering to desire,
Yeah.
not necessity.
Not necessity.
When you're camping, and I think a lot of people may not have the same mindset that we have. Like, friends who don't. They would rather bring a blow-up mattress, to have inside their tent, and they probably wouldn't camp again if they didn't have that.
Right.
Like they like camping, but they wouldn't camp with just a foam mattress pad.
Mm-hmm.
Not even the cots that we use.
Right. Some people require that
Some
extra.
people require that extra. They're still
Yeah.
campers, of course, Like, you're still a camper if you do that. You're still camping, whatever. You know, no elitism in that. It's just that that's not not closer to a survival concern.
Right.
And there can be a lot there that is actually very not useful at all.
Yes.
And potentially even can lull you into a sense of understanding should an emergency or survival situation happen.
Right. It just it's too casual for the conditions. And if you're thinking, oh, we need to grab our blow-up mattress and we need to grab the the PlayStation and the projector and all of these other things that aren't really important in a survival scenario, they can be cumbersome, they can slow you down, and they could ultimately get in the way of you, going where you need to go or doing whatever you need to do. So making sure to have things in order that are light and not excessive, knowing what's excessive and what's necessary is important for survival. So there's a lot of fluff that can be had in camping. You can have it as rustic as you want to be, and then
rustic, that's a good word.
And then you can go all the way up to glamping, where people they have the giant dome tents and they're bringing in blow-up mattresses and they TVs and grills and all of this extra stuff that if you have to get up and go and some disaster is happening like we see in certain parts of the world, all you may have to get, or all the time you may have, is time to grab a tent, your sleeping bag, and maybe a fishing line, and just get out the door.
I like that you use the word rustic, because rustic is such a signifier for like furniture and decor. It's like, how people say farmhouse chic. I just think of, somebody's decorating, they'll say, look at this. It's a rustic, charming home, and it's like, it needs lots of repairs.
Right.
There's wood panel walls some might not be into. It's like people will use the word rustic as a placeholder for like
it's like a selling point.
Work, yeah. It's a marketing term.
Marketing term, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think basically what we've come to is that we're on two sides of the same. They're two sides of the same coin.
Okay.
So there is the element of recreational camping where, if you already kind of have a certain mindset that like you're okay with a little bit things being more pared down and you might have more of an eye for preparedness, then you can find ways in which you can you're either already preparing yourself for survival, or you can intentionally more prepare yourself for survival. So maybe instead of using your camp stove, you can use a fire to cook your food.
Right.
So you can intentionally do that if you're thinking about it that way. And there's the other side of the coin where it's like you just want to camp for the highest leisure. You like being outside. You love being in a tent. You love hanging out with friends. You like all of the luxuries and maybe even some of the glitz and glam that comes along with camping. And that is not necessarily preparing you for survival situations.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we can shake hands.
We don't need to shake hands.
Okay.
Are we like?
Wow.
Are we like business
on
colleagues?
agreeing that we've come to
Conclusion?
Yeah.
We can metaphorically shake hands.
All right. Whatever.
I'm not gonna shake your hand.
Why? You don't like me?
I don't like shaking hands.
I'm your wife, though.
Shaking hands.
Okay. High five. Agree. We've come to a middle path.
We've come to a path somewhere. Hopefully, it's a path to survival. So.
Yes. And if you want to watch a video on why learning to camp right now is actually necessary, then I will link it in the description. And until next time, be safe, stay curious, and
choose adventure. That video is even more relevant right now. If you know, you know.